So you got to be evaluative in who you choose. Young folk, you got to be evaluative in who you choose to have relationship with. You got to be evaluative in who you choose to intertwine your soul, your resources, your body. You have to be careful and evaluative. You need to take them through some process phases. Take them through some identity obstacles to find out whether or not they're worthy to have relationship with you. And parents, let me tell us something. We got to be careful of who we choose to have relationship with around our children. Y'all helping me this morning? A lot of us talk about, I don't understand why that girl running behind every boy she see. It's because she saw you, mama, with 3 sugar daddies and 2 backup plans. Daddy talking about, I can't see why that boy can't get his lesson in school. He run after every little girl. It's because he saw you in your crush building playing Mac Daddy, running after everything moving. We have to become modelers of the behaviors that we want our children to execute, and not just instructors, but modelers of the behaviors that we want our children to see. Some of us know the MC Hammers of the world, the Allen Iverses of the world that thought they could take everybody. MC Hammer thought he could reach back and grab everybody he grew up with and take it with him, take them with him. But he found out very quickly, through brokenness and bankruptcy, that you can't take everybody, because everybody's mentality ain't made for the next level. Take a book out of Moses and the children of Israel. Some of them had to die out because they didn't have a next level mentality. You can't get in a next level place without a next level mentality. So you got to be evaluative of who you choose to have relationship with. You even have to be evaluative of who you choose to share your dreams and aspirations with. I call them your baby. When God has impregnated you with something, with a dream and aspiration, something that you're going after, you got to be careful of who you hand that baby over to. Just in our natural lives, we're careful in who we have holding our babies, because folks carry bacteria, they carry diseases, and if the baby's immune system is undeveloped and you pass it to the wrong person, it could sabotage their health. And we got to be careful of who we allow to hold our baby. I say to you, if you're going to let anybody hold your baby, find the right midwife to hold your baby. Find the midwives that Pharaoh walked up on and thought he had somebody would carry out his plan, but he found out it was a midwife that knew what she had. You got to find the right person to connect with if you want to have relationship. Second thing you got to know if you want to have relationship is you got to know how to have a level of transparency. In verse 38 says, Then said he unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Understand here the depths of transparency that reveal our Savior's humanity. He is not afraid to have recorded that he had emotions. He's not afraid to have it written down that he had feelings, that he went through things, that things were tough for him in the flesh. And sometimes we think that true ministry is on the level of hierarchy than it is on the level of equality. It is the fact that we need that in which we offer to others that make us effective in our ministry. Ministry is something very simple. It's one patient telling another patient where the hospital is. It's not this level of hierarchy that makes me better than you and then I can tell you what I don't execute myself. In order to have real and true ministry, we cannot be afraid to have a level of transparency. Don't allow our vulnerability to cost us our ministry. And don't allow our vulnerability to cost us our children. Don't be afraid to share with our children the things that we went through. Don't be afraid, mama, to tell daughter that it's the reason why I wore a pink dress to my wedding. Don't be afraid to expose the things that caught us up in life and that can reveal to them something that will allow them to be able to properly go to their next level. Sometimes pride will interfere with ministry. Sometimes pride will interfere with our effectiveness to get through to people, because we're so hung up on how we look when we say things. We're so hung up on how we got to appear to people that we don't share with people the true jewels of our lives. So if you want real relationship, you got to have a level of transparency. After you finish with a level of transparency and you want to have a real relationship, you got to be aware of human limitation. Verse 40 says, and he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep. Said unto Peter, what, could ye not watch 1 hour with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Understand Christ's dilemma with Peter at this point, and his initial reprimand of Peter. Here I am going through some of the toughest times I ever had, and you sleep. I'm going through, and you laying on your Posturepedic rock, taking a nap at the most sorrowful hour in my existence. And then Peter, the reason why he reprimands him so is this is the same one that a few verses earlier said that although all will offend thee, never shall I offend thee. We got to be careful of making verbal boasts without counting real costs. We got to be careful of what we tell the pastor we're going to sign up for and don't have enough dedication and commitment to follow through. We got to be careful of how we extend ourselves and don't allow our integrity to follow after what we say. Sometimes we go through things and sometimes we don't understand what people are going through in their certain situations. So we got to understand human limitations. A lot of us sometimes go through disappointments because we expect men to be God. We expect for people to come through for us as God will. And sometimes God has to expose, not because there's anything wrong with people, but sometimes for our own development. God will expose the inconsistencies in people and in things so we understand it never was people that was doing it for you. It was that they were being used by me. It never was the car. It never was the house. It never was the things that we come to worship sometimes. That Beamer that you wash and wax on Sunday morning rather than coming to church. And you wonder why I got hit when you was parked on the side of the restaurant. It had to happen to show you that that car wasn't God. We wonder why that 3-story house we had to catch a little electrical fire go on. And the insurance had to come and take care of it because we had to realize that that house is not God. And we have to realize, even when it comes to people, through no fault of their own, we in our own ignorances can lift them up as God. And sometimes God has allowed them to go through their own difficulty to show us that people are not God, that I am God. And I equip from me soldiers, that all good and perfect gifts come from the Father of life. So we got to understand human limitation. Some things we do are because we don't understand human limitation. Sometimes folks leave churches because they don't understand that the pastor can't be there everywhere at one time. Sometimes families bust up because folks don't understand, I don't have enough money to get you out of everything you get yourself into. I can't mortgage my house. I can't sell I don't have enough resources to be a God to you. So everything you go through and every mishap you have, you look to me to rescue you. I don't have those type of resources. So sometimes God has to show us that humans have limitations, even when we go through situations in our lives where we feel like we received unauthorized criticism or undeserved criticism. Sometimes we have to do what I call channel our inner Stephen. Sometimes when folks are throwing rocks at you, you have to understand their human limitations. Everybody don't throw rocks at you just because they intend to do it. Some folks are misguided. Some folks are misled. And you have to do like Stephen did and look up toward heaven. And that signifies to me you look past the limitations of folks. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's some folks throwing rocks at me that don't really understand. It's some folks throwing rocks at me that think they're doing the work of God. And they don't really understand that who they're throwing rocks at is a representative of God. So sometimes we got to understand, if we want to have real relationship, we got to understand human limitation. And I'm going to say this last point, I'm headed to my seat. I ain't long this morning. If you want to have real relationship, you have to have the most essential thing. You got to have direct line communication. Verse 39 says, and he went a little further. Verse 39 said, and he went a little further. Y'all still catching up. Verse 39 said, and he went a little further. Verse 39 said, and he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, oh my Father. Don't you know there's some stuff in your life that can't nobody handle but God? God depicts for us here the accurate realms to put relationship in perspective. It's some folk in your life that you got to tell, sit ye here while I go pray yonder. There's some folks in your life that you evaluate that say you're worthy enough to come into the inner circle with me, and then it's a place reserved that only one can sit. So he left Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he went a little further, and he fell on his face, and then he said, oh, he didn't say, oh my Peter. He didn't say, oh my two sons of Zebedee, but he said, oh my Father. If you want real relationship, you got to have direct line communication. And if you want direct line communication, you got to have connection. No real relationship exists if you don't have connection. Jesus said, if ye abide in me, and if my words abide in you, there's a connection going on. Ye shall ask what you will, and it will be done for you. If you're connected to who he is, then you have access to what he has. If you're connected to who he is, somebody gonna wake up around here, then you have access to to what he has. Romans 8:16 said, the Spirit itself bearing witness with my spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs. Somebody say joint heirs. That sounds like connection to me. Joint heirs with Christ. If you want to be connected through relationship, you have to have connection with Christ. I'm going to highlight one more thing, and I'm going to take my seat. If you really want connection, then you most definitely have to have trust. Jesus said, Father, I done already asked you to take this cup from me. I've already asked you that I really don't want to bear the cup. But Father, if it need be, if I must drink of the cup, then your will be done. Some of us are going through sickness. Some of us are going through trials. Some of us are going through tribulation. And we can't see the good in it. We can't hardly bear it. But sometimes all you have left, when you fought as hard as you can, all you have left is a level of trust. And the trust gives you a connection with God.